Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dariana, aka Not at Her Time, aka your trading bestie.
Where'd you find this?
And today we are going to be analyzing losses. I really wanted to make this video because one, I need to analyze my losses more, and two, I feel like we all need to make sure that we're analyzing our losses because analyzing losses is really just important. Trading losses are really important because they really just show us where and how we be losing in the market. They show us our bad trading habits, they show us mistakes we could be making in our market analysis, in our trade execution, and even in our trade management. So that's just why it's important to always look back at our losses so that we can find the reoccurring factors that can help us avoid these losses in the future. I first want to start out by talking about questions that I like to ask myself when I'm analyzing my losses on my own. You just want to make sure that you're asking yourself questions that, one, apply to the way you trade, your trading plan, and questions that you know you should be asking yourself. These are the questions that I've come up with that kind of cater to the way that I trade and the questions I know I should be asking myself. Y'all can use these questions as, a guide for your journey. Look at your own trading plan and how you trade and what type of trader you are, and then ask yourself the questions that you think you would really need to ask yourself in order to analyze your losing trades to the most efficient, effective way that you can. First question I like to ask myself when I'm analyzing my trades is, did you follow your trading plan? Because that's the most important question. Number two, what were the market conditions at the time of your trade? Did those market conditions have a positive or a negative effect on your trade? Number three, did you read the market wrong, or was this a good trade that just did not play out? Number four, did you execute and manage your trade to the best of your abilities? Because your execution and your management of your trade can make or break your trade. You could literally have a winning trade and then you just managed it super bad and you ended up losing money while everyone else won on it. Management and execution definitely matters. Number five, was this a good loss or was this a bad loss? A good loss is basically like you followed your trading plan, you took the trade because you literally had faith in it, it had confluences that made you take the trade, and it just didn't work out. That's a good loss. A bad loss is, you broke your rules, you knew, you have that intuition when you trade in, you looked at the market and you saw something that you did not like, something that you know that you'd be losing on, but you decided to take it anyway because either FOMO or you just wanted to take a setup. Because I know sometimes we could get into this habit of taking setups because they're right in front of us and not really taking setups because that's a good setup. Like once you know your strategy, you kind of just want to take the setup, even though not all setups are graded the same. And then the last question I have to ask myself, and I feel like this is a question that maybe everybody else doesn't really need to ask because I don't know, but like I said, these questions are kind of catered to the way I trade and the mistakes that I know I'd be making. Did your interference cause this loss or make it worse? So yeah, those are the questions I like to ask myself when I'm about to analyze my trades. I usually have a document or something where I have them all right there, and then I'll answer them after I fully analyze my losing trade. So yeah, let's go on to an example and analyze a losing trade. I'm gonna keep my sessions on so that they can help us in the analyzation of this losing trade. So here's the first trade that we're going to analyze. It's a supply setup, and let's just break it down just so y'all can see how this setup ended up playing out. You can see it tap into the zone. I'll get in here right there with my stop loss. Let's say 101 is your first TP, and it got you. So I feel like the first important question you need to ask is, one, what time of day did this trade happen? This trade, it tapped my zone at 7:50, so going in the New York session. Break of candle happened at 7:55, and then as you can see at 8 o'clock when New York session opened, that's when this big bullish candle came, and the buyers just came all up in there. So personally, when I analyzed this trade, because this is a trade I did take, I kind of wish I did not take it, obviously, because I lost. But one, I kind of broke my rules. My trading session is from 8 to 11. Why did I enter the trade at 7:55? And maybe that could be a little bit, you know, Dariana, it's only 5 minutes. Like, it doesn't matter. It's still, like, within your session. But is it, though? Because when you're on the 5-minute chart, or when you're in the market in general, or each candle kind of is important. So, and one thing that I noticed from analyzing my previous losses is whenever I get into a trade right before 8 o'clock, even though the direction could have been right at the time, you know how New York session do. When New York session opens, the other side is going to possibly come in. So I always find myself in situations where I enter into trades and then 8 o'clock will come and then momentum will come out of nowhere that is not in my direction. So that was my first problem with this trade. Like, that was low-key probably the reason why I lost. But going in deeper, I did like this setup because, you know, it did break some minor structure and is going away from the 200 EMA. Look at the liquidity down here. Look at the liquidity. This was my red flag. This was my red flag to be like, don't take this setup. And it was early. I didn't even need to take this setup. They grabbed liquidity right down here, London low, because the pink session or the pink area is London. It grabbed that liquidity and then tapped my zone. That probably would have been that should have been my signal to be like, okay, buyers are probably coming into the market and we're about to open New York session. And you know, New York session likes to do the opposite of whatever London did. So that was my first red flag. If you look at the 15-minute, we are also below the 200. But I'm not gonna lie, even if you took the 200 away, where are we going? Nowhere. We're not really doing anything. We're not really going anywhere. We're at this support down here as well, also signaling that, you know, buyers may want to come in. I feel like when I took this trade, I was paying too much attention to, current price is below the 200, so I should be good. But it's all circumstantial, guys. Let me look at the 1 hour. We're bullish on the 1 hour. If y'all trade GJ at all, y'all know that GJ just love to push up, and it just be pushing up like all the dang time. Like, even if you go to the higher time frame, you can really see clearly that GJ is in an uptrend. Other than the 1 hour telling us that we're in an uptrend, it's not really giving any more information. I will say that, like, we can see that price was slowing down up here. It was kind of consolidating and forming a support. And then look at where current price is. Let's see, that was 6 o'clock. This candle was 7 o'clock. We're low. Well, we're low in the terms of this little range that's happening. As a whole, we're not really low, but we're low in regards to where we are currently. We're low. And then if you go to the 4 hour, it's not really telling you anything. We got gaps below, which you could use as a confluence. I don't really like to use gaps as a confluence to get into my trade, because I feel like just because a gap is there doesn't mean it's going to go down there. And there's been multiple occasions where I'm like, oh, I'm going to take this trade because there's a gap right there, and then it never goes down there. So I feel like it's not a strong enough confluence for me to take setups. But other than that, like, we're on the 5 minutes, so I don't really pay too much attention to the 4 hour anyway. When I did this analyzation on my own time, I asked, you know, did I read the market wrong, or was this a good trade? This is what I said. I said, I don't think I read the market wrong, but I do believe that I just valued the wrong confluence over the right one. I think that's very interesting to think about. This trade wasn't the best because, one, it had a minor break structure along with the support at the bottom. I would have liked this trade better if it broke the major low. So I feel like this trade would have been better if it broke this low down here. Let me show y'all. If it broke this low and then came back, I probably would have felt a little bit better about it, but it didn't do that. I took a risk on this trade because it was going away from the 200 and it had a very good rejection at the zone, and it did. It did reject that zone very beautifully. Right after I entered off the regular candle, that's when the trade got faked out and the market ended up invalidating the supply and rejected the 200 EMA for the top to break major lows. But overall, this was kind of like a no trend day. So, I mean, that's another thing I like to see after you analyze your trade, is just like, what did the market do after? So let's just let it play out. for all of my session, which is till it. Yeah, that's the end of my session right there at 11. You can see what happened. So you got stopped out, invalidated your zone, rejected off that 200 EMA to continue back down, but overall the trend still on a higher time frame is bullish, so it did end up going back up. When I analyzed this trade on my own time, I also asked myself, you know, of course, was this a good loss or was this a bad loss? I feel like, personally, I'm gonna call this a bad loss on my part because I saw the liquidity right there. I saw the liquidity grab, and I took this anyway, and I knew the risk of that. I said, I do feel like this loss could have been avoided if I, one, waited till 8 o'clock, literally just waited one more candle, and then two, pay more attention to the price action at this time. To me, this was a bad loss, because knowing the stuff that I be learning, I could have avoided it. And then for question 6, just to give you more like context on my questions, I asked, did I interfere? Did my interference in this trade cause this loss? Honestly, I felt like my interference in this trade actually would have made it better because I could have cut my loss. I said I did not interfere in this trade after I got in. My interference probably would have given me a smaller stop loss because I could have cut my loss early, but nothing is wrong with letting your stop loss get hit, obviously. So yeah, overall, although I feel like I could have did this trade better, instead of putting too much value on the EMA, I should have put more value on the price action that was going on, and you know, I should have avoided this loss, but it's okay. Yeah, let's just look at this loss. It's been a while since I've seen this trade because obviously I took it back in November, and I don't think I've looked at it since I analyzed it back in November, but now we're about to analyze it again. So first thing I'm noticing about this trade, although it did break structure, you know, we have these gaps up here. We've already dropped a lot, and we have gaps up there that kind of need to be filled. It doesn't have to be filled in this moment, but it's up there. We can't ignore that. Also, look at the 200. It's flat. And I will say, price does like to bounce off EMA sometimes, but that don't mean it will. I have to acknowledge that when the 200 is flat, there's a chance that there's going to be some craziness going on near my entry. So that was another red flag that I could have avoided. But let's just see what happened. Okay, that was the break candle. That's where I got in. My stop loss was probably like around here. I don't know. I gotta look back at my actual screenshot, but I probably should have put my stop loss above the 200. That probably would have even been safer. But I mean, if the trade is a loss, the trade is a loss, and like no changing your stop loss is gonna change that. So let's see. You got the break of the candle, and it went against you instantly. Let's see what it did after that. It shot up. It filled in the gap. So you see that gap was something to be conscious about. Let's take it back. Let's look at the higher time frame. And y'all, I'm so sorry if I'm all over the place. I gotta get better at being on the charts. I'm more of a sit down talk girl, but I'm trying to get, you know, I want to like be on the charts with y'all. Like, I do love looking at the market. Okay, so you see where the box is at. This is the 15-minute. And you see what's down here, this big old gap. I probably saw that and was like, I want to take a sell because I want to fill in this gap. But again, it's not guaranteed that this whole thing is going to get filled with this setup. So yeah, we are still in the uptrend. Other than that, there's nothing else that the 15-minute is really telling me. I'm gonna go to the 1 hour. I don't like this 200. I don't like it. There's really no clear trend. Yes, current price up here is above it, but I don't like when it cuts through it all. I would rather the 200 to be down here, like a little trend line or something. Like, I would rather 200 be in this area, not up there. Other than that, I feel like I got nothing else from the 1 hour chart or time frame. 4 hour. To be honest, it's not really going nowhere. No clear trend. We're in this range. We were at the top of the range when I took that setup, or because my setup was probably somewhere up in here. Let me see. It's probably up in this area. I was probably thinking, if I did look at the 4 hour, I was probably thinking, okay, we're at the top of this range. Maybe it wants to drop. But we still gotta keep in mind, you can see how it price kind of rejected off the 200 right here and shot up like that. Or the 4 hour could be wanting to go into an bullish trend. But yeah, let's go back to the 5 minutes. Did I follow my trading plan? Well, I took this trade. Oh, y'all. That's another thing, another reason why this trade probably could have lost. Not only was the 200, let me delete that. Not only was the 200 flat, but the break of candle happened at dang 10:20. My session is over. Like, yes, my trade session is 8 to 11, but realistically, I'd be done by like 10 o'clock. Like, I'd be done by 10 o'clock. That's when price be slowing down. I'm like, no, I don't want to be in here. I don't want to be in the market anymore. But yeah, first question, did I follow my trading plan? Y'all don't know my trading plan, but it's on the board right there in front of me. I'll say, yeah, I follow my trading plan. What were the market conditions at the time of the trade? Did they have a positive or negative effect on this trade? Honestly, the market conditions, if we take the EMA away, they almost look clean. Like, okay, we broke this structure, but you could see this right here, this, that's consolidation. And then you put the 200 on, that's not the 200. You put the 200 on, we're kind of in the range. We're in the range right now. There was no clear trend at that moment. So although it does look like, oh, we're breaking structure to the downside, the 200 is telling us there's no clear trend. So I'm gonna say the market conditions were not in my favor for this trade, but I ignored that. And the market conditions definitely had a negative effect on this trade. Next question, did I read the market wrong, or was this a good trade that didn't work out? I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna call this a good trade that did not work out. It's not perfect, and I feel like no trade is really ever perfect, and that's what I'm starting to realize, that sometimes you can get a trade with a flat 200 and it will reject beautifully off of it and it will drop. Or you might get a trade with no break of structure, but because of the overall trend, it rejects beautifully from the zone and continues to trend. Even though this wasn't the most ideal trade because of the way where the EMAs were at, even look at that. Look at what the 13 was. Even though this wasn't the most ideal trade because of the EMAs, I'm gonna still call it a good trade because it did have a breaking structure. It's all honestly up to your view of the market, to be honest. If this trade won, I would have confidently said, oh, this is a good trade. But we have to remember that good trades can also lose, and bad trades can win. Did you execute and manage the trade to the best of your ability? I'm not gonna lie, I can't remember. Because I took this trade back in November, so I'm gonna hope that I did. I hope I just let my stop loss get hit, and I probably just made it my last trade of the day. I'm gonna assume that I said that was a yes. Was this a good loss or a bad loss? I'm gonna assume that I followed my trading plan, which I'm sure I did. I'm gonna call it a good loss, a good and sound loss that I could be okay with. Yes, the 200 was flat. Yes, I could have took into more consideration, but if you want to take a risk on a trade that's not perfect, you can still take that risk and that trade could still win. And then of course the last question, did your interference cause this loss and make it worse? I can't remember, so I guess it was kind of pointless to even ask those last two questions. But like I've said in the beginning of the video, the purpose of losses is to find your bad habits and find the market conditions where you're losing. But find what your losing trades look like. If you're always losing in counter trend setups, then stop taking counter trend setups. Me, I'm always losing when the 200 is flat. So maybe I should just stop taking setups when this 200 is flat. Analyzing your losses can only go so far because you have to practice what you're learning when you're analyzing your losses, right? So although I could say, oh, I know for a fact that I take most of my losing trades when the 200 is flat, I could see a setup in the live market and the 200 will be flat, but maybe that's the only thing that's being presented. And the thing that makes it hard is, even though you see a market situation where you usually lose in, that trade could literally still win. And that's what makes it hard to really be profitable sometimes, because deep down, the type of setups that you win the most on and the setups that you lose the most on. But at the end of the day, we're just trying to get a setup. I'm not gonna lie, you trying to get a setup, and that every trade has that possibility of winning. The question is, what are the probability of it? And sometimes we're willing to sacrifice the probability of our trade winning just so that we could take that chance and get a winning trade. And I feel like the way to combat this is to stop thinking or stop looking at trades by a trade by trade basis and start looking at it as a series of trades. So yes, we know on this day this possible trade could win or it could lose, but on in the next 30 trades, if I see this setup again, what is the probability of that trade winning compared to a setup that's in an ideal market situation, you know? So once you look at it from this like a large database, then you're like, you know what, I'm not gonna risk one of my 30 trades on something that's mediocre. You know what I'm saying? From my experience, and I don't know if any of y'all deal with this either, but these are the things that cause me to lose the most. One, I kind of got better at this now, but one of the things I used to do that would cause me to lose is I was cutting my winners. I was so scared to let my stop loss get hit, which is crazy because I always predefine my risk and I always know how much I'm gonna lose, but you just don't want to lose. So I'm like, okay, let me just cut my loss. But then you didn't even give your trade a chance to play out. That was my problem. That's another way you could kind of make your P&L all wonky. Two, if you're holding your losers more than your winners. So after I got through the phase of me like cutting my winners early, I'm like, okay, like let me just let my trades play out. But then I was in this habit of like always letting my stop loss get hit, but I was scared to let my TP get hit because once it started getting close and then it starts wicking, then I'm like, oh shoot, like what if it's about to reverse? And then I close like right under the 1-to-1. Or if I when it comes to like runners and stuff, not giving my trades the opportunity to go for a runner, that was also another way I was kind of messing up my P&L because I'm holding my losses to the stop loss, but I'm not holding my winners to the TP, or I'm not holding my winners over my TP. So it was just kind of, your losses end up being bigger than your winners. And even if it's by a small percentage, it makes a difference. It all adds up. Another reason I would lose a lot is FOMO trading. And I used to think like, oh, I don't have FOMO. But no, FOMO hides itself in a lot of different ways. Let's say I see a setup like this, right? And it's okay, you know, I still gotta acknowledge the price action at the bottom, but I see this rejection. I could look at this trade and be like, okay, I see the liquidity get taken out from the bottom. I'm not gonna get in this trade. But then it taps my zone, and then you see this large rejection. That's FOMO. Now I'm getting FOMO because, oh, look how it rejected from the zone. I want to get in, so you just hop in. Instead of trusting your initial analysis or your initial opinion on the trade and saying, okay, I'm not getting in because of the liquidity getting taken from the bottom or this support being formed down here. But now you just threw all that out the window because, oh, look at how beautiful the candles look. And then what did it do? It lured you in and then stopped you out. That will always happen to me. That will always happen to me. And even to this day, I still gotta work on it a little bit. But yeah, that's another way that one of those habits that you can form that kind of causes you to lose. Anyway, I want to end this video. I really hope this video helps somebody. I really hope it motivates you to analyze your losses and do it consistently. Like not even just daily, like the day you take the trade, but even at the end of the week, look at the trades again. Analyze your losses again. At the end of the month, analyze your losses again. Like just so we can beat into our brain what the losses look like and what we are doing that's causing our losses so that we can fix it and be profitable. Okay, y'all, I'm done with this video. If nobody has told y'all yet, let me be the one to tell you that somebody has faith in you and that someone is me. With love, I will see y'all in the next video.